I love the idea that working with you means that I can say, hey, I need to, change my estate plan a little bit, or I want to add this, or we're going to do that, or I need my company to do this or the other. And so I think it's a wonderful combination that you've created that is unique and super helpful. I can't believe more people don't think of it. And I think that's lovely.
I just believe so much in people's hard work, actually using it for good, right? Using it for good and taking care of your family, of course, number one, but then also getting beyond that, going for helping just society in general and finding that purpose for yourself. It's not just money, it's just making a difference in people's lives. We're protecting your authentic purpose. We are generating wealth beyond belief, but then mainly is we're going to make a difference now and forever.
Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Victory Show podcast. And we're so happy to have you here today. Of course, where we help you double your business in 1 year or less to double your business, double your impact, and change the world. We could not be more thrilled to have as our guest today, Maritess Bott. As many of you have heard of her, she is quite the celebrity, certainly if you've ever spent any time in Chicago. She has degrees in marketing, she has a master's in accounting, and she's, of course, got a law degree as well, and is also one of the most financially savvy people I've ever met in my life. And it's going to be really great to have a conversation about the things that we need to know as business owners or as human beings about our financial life, our financial health, and about how do we create what she calls a generous legacy. And none of us are going to live forever together, maybe, but not necessarily forever. And I remember Rosita Perez, one of my favorite speakers, always used to say, we should maybe live with death a little bit on our shoulder because it forces us to really live. So even though we're going to be talking about a little bit about the future beyond us, we should be concerned about where the future beyond us is for our children or for the world or for that charity you've always wanted to donate to now or in the future. So we're really lucky to have somebody who can help us not only with the attorney side, which is the estate planning, which is so important and nobody understands what it is. So she's going to explain that, I promise, but also with the financial side as well. The nice thing about Maritess Bott, aside from being one of the most extraordinary human beings I know, is that Maritess has these two companies that pair well together that allow one-stop shopping for all of us business owners who want to make sure that our companies are set and safe if we ever want to have a plan moving forward for our retirement or whatever that is, and also that we have financial health and success as well. And you're the only person I know. Welcome to the show, first of all. We're so glad to have
Thank
you.
you for having me there.
You're welcome. You're the only person I know who has both of those all in-house. And I love the idea that working with you means that I can say, hey, I need to, change my estate plan a little bit, or I want to add this, or we're going to do that, or I need my company to do this or the other. And I don't have to run in and go and explain that to a financial advisor and then explain what I'm doing to the financial advisor, back to the attorney that's doing estate work. And so I think it's a wonderful combination that you've created that is unique and super helpful. I can't believe more people don't think of it. And I think that's lovely. You are also writing this great book I hear about, which is A Generous Legacy. You want to tell us a little bit more about that and how that applies to your work?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited. Just getting started on writing this book because I just believe so much in people's hard work, actually using it for good, right? Using it for good and taking care of your family, of course, number one, but then also getting beyond that, going for helping just society in general and finding that purpose for yourself. So my book is called A Generous Legacy, and we're kind of covering three things. We're protecting your authentic purpose. We are generating wealth beyond belief, but then mainly is we're going to make a difference now and forever. That is kind of the all-encompassing kind of phrase that I consider in different ways. It's not just money, it's just making a difference in people's lives. It could be certainly your time, your expertise, providing to other people and charities and the work that you do that's going to help them go beyond themselves. So to me, that's all kind of, there's just so much in those phrases that I love. And I want to be able to share that, share my experience and share that with my readers.
I think that's marvelous. It's also one of the best 30-second commercials for who you are and what you guys do at your companies. I've heard it a very long time. So
Hey,
that's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, I know you also are a very successful business person and have done so well both with the law firm and with your second company that you now have all in under one umbrella. Would you like to tell us a couple of things that you've discovered over the years that are secrets to your success in your
yeah, yeah, I'd
businesses?
love to. Just real quick on the background. So I've been practicing as an attorney for 26 years plus, and have had my own practice or law firm for about 17 years. So what I've learned as a business owner, I mean, I didn't go to school thinking I was ever going to be a business owner. I think a lot of business, we're like, oh, I guess I could own my own business, and that sounds fabulous, but you don't realize how much work it is. But in terms of what has been the success, I always say finding good people. That's been a really fabulous way of kind of getting the help because I certainly cannot do everything. So very important to find good people and then also connect with people. It's really a relationship business, whatever you do. So even though my actual services are financial and legal, and those are the services I provide, connecting with people and knowing how to be able to talk to people and explain things is really the key, I think, to a lot of business owners and being a business owner, because that's going to help you with sales, helps you retain clients, helps you, kind of connect other people and be able to be a really good kind of center of influence for other people.
Definitely, definitely. You have an extraordinary network of amazing people and obviously fabulous clients as well. I find it interesting that people have such a high level of regard and of trust in you, which when you're talking about legal things and financial things, and there's loads of attorneys out there, there's loads of financial people out there, but your name comes up over and over and over again. I've known you for many, many years because of that high trust factor you have built with people. How have you built that network? And how have you built that reputation for being a high trust, high respected individual?
Great question. Well, I think, when you go into a business and you realize, oh, yeah, I have to start selling, you just go out there. And right in the beginning, I remember networking, and I would consider myself an introvert. So networking is like, what? I got to go into a room full of strangers. Are you kidding me? And so just doing it, getting out of your box and just doing it and being able to meet people and really keep that to me it's like just you never know who's going to know another person and you just continue to build that business. And for me, your reputation always follows you, no matter where you go, right? We are only our reputation. That's it. So I always try to do right by everybody. You take the high road in everything. If a client happens to be upset about something, I return the money. I mean, I just say that's okay. If it's not going to work out, it hasn't happened very often. But I always just think that there's no reason to be in a situation where people question what you do in terms of whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So for me, I always want to be known as the person who does the right thing all the time. Whether, because I think both areas, whether it's law or financial, there's plenty of gray areas. There's a line that people can cross. And I'm always I stay on the right side of that line because it's important for my clients and my connections to know that I would never do wrong by either anybody who send me or by the clients that come in the door. So for me, that's really important. And then the other thing I would say in terms of just how do people build trust, right? I ask a lot of questions during my consultations, and I think asking questions, being more interested than being interesting is more important because you want people to feel comfortable. You want them to let their guard down when they're in your office and they can talk about money, they can talk about family dysfunction, they can talk about so much. And I mean, there's laughter, but there's tears, there's lots of things. This is a really, really tough area in general. So I think people trust me because I ask lots of questions. I give them that space to share what they really need to just air out and understand, like, what is this really all about? Because going into any law firm, financial place, it's scary for a lot of people. So I think building trust is just being that person rather than, I think a lot of people have been sold or been like, you got to do this, or a lot of legalese language and trying to make them feel better about themselves. I'm more of a, let's really figure out, get into the nuts and bolts about your life, what you want to leave behind, what is your passion, what is it, so that we can put that on paper in case, heaven forbid, something happens and we can have that legacy work for you. So that is it.
That's beautiful. No, that's beautifully put. What drew you to the part of law? And I know you have the financial services side too, but particularly I'm fascinated by what made you choose the type of law you do, the estate planning, because I know the financial services came afterwards because you wanted to make sure you had all your clients all wanted more in that area. Naturally, you started providing that, which I think was very, very smart, as I mentioned. But what was it that made you say, estate planning, I can do some real good here, which you
Yeah.
have? What was it? What was it about that? What was the impetus behind that?
Yeah, actually, it was a by somewhat accident. So I had really gone into law school thinking I'm going to do corporate law, like mergers and acquisitions, and being very, all business related transactions, which I enjoyed. And the very first firm that I worked at was in downtown Chicago, where they did both. They did the business transactions, they did the estate planning, and really they go together. So you're kind of seeing everything and seeing what the business owners do with the funds that they receive when they sell a practice or a business, and then also see the actual transaction happen. So I was actually really involved as a law student and then also stayed on as an associate. So I was able to see both sides. And after, kind of really looking at it, I said, oh, I really like the estate planning side because of because of the personality I think that I have. I think it blends well with people who can understand and be compassionate, understand and be able to provide the kind of, I say, the hard stuff, which is taxes and legal stuff, but then also the soft stuff, which is, you really want to give Johnny too much money at 18 and have those conversations and have the 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 client really feel that you understand. So I think a lot of times that takes skill as well as just a personality that people are drawn to. So I realized that since I have I can put those two kind of personalities together in this topic, I chose the estate planning side to focus on, with the idea that I still do other things that kind of connect with estate planning, which is probate and trust administration when people pass or are disabled. And then also when a client does have a business, I'm able to talk about that as well because of my business background. So it's a lot of topics that go together.
Definitely. Well, we have a lot of people who are watching. You may be watching or listening at home or in your office that do have their own businesses that are in the process of doubling that business or growing that business or scaling that business. What is it that particularly that business owners need to know when it comes to estate planning or finances? Like, what do they need to be really aware of? If you just had to give one or two insider secrets that they should at least start thinking about.
I love that question because it's it's something, I look at business owners and you work with them and they're making so much, strides in their businesses. And I love that they do that. But taking all of that and working so hard And then if you do happen to unexpectedly die and it just goes away, or it goes to the wrong people, that's really my main like mantra to get people to do, to think about a succession plan, what's going to happen with your business. So that's very, very key. And then number two is tag that on together with the estate plan. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to leave all this money to your kids and they're like, spend it in 2 seconds? Like the average time that a person keeps an inheritance is 18 months. And that isn't even
Really?
size of the inheritance. When people are not used to having money and you give them too much money too quickly, sort of like that lottery winner, you don't want that money to just be kind of spent quickly. But then there's also other reasons to do estate planning. But on the business side, business succession planning, it's hard for people to think about, especially if you're a closely held business, it's family owned, it's been there for so long. Who is going to take over can be very emotional, and there's a lot of things to think about. But the earlier the better. The sooner you can think about it, the sooner you can really kind of plan out, well, what if we thought of this side? That won't look good. This side, like have multiple options for who takes over your business. Maybe it's just sold, but you already have some business broker that'll sell the business and help you do that. So really just key to just have some plan in place, because none of us have a crystal ball and we have no idea. So don't work so hard, grow this huge and amazing business, and then not have anywhere to kind of let it land. Financially, tax wise, if you don't do it, there's the default will always be giving it to the IRS, more money to the IRS. And then also the default of like your business imploding. What if it's just so dependent on you as the owner, as the person, that maybe it just couldn't go on beyond you, right? You don't want that either. So there's plenty of ways to talk to the right people, because it's not just a lawyer, it's going to be maybe a business broker, a private equity person, obviously accountants, so many different parties that are going to be part of this team to help you understand business succession.
What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten in your business?
Yeah. Some of my best advice. I think what I've gotten through other business owners is truly about your people and then your kind of the sales side, which is that keeping that pipeline full, right? So your people is certainly, everyone always says hire slow, fire fast. That's always been what I think about when I think of people.
That's
And then
true.
find great people and establish that culture that you would want. So that alone is huge. It's been a work in progress. Certainly not been perfect in any sense. But I think every business owner knows that as you're growing, you do need people that are just going to be so awesome and reliable. That's important. And then, like I said, the second piece is just getting your business in a way that you're always thinking, what is next? And what's that pipeline look like? Strategic planning. So I've always had that eye on the kind of bigger picture. My 1-year goal is on paper, my 3-year goal is on paper, and so is like the 10-year BHAG type of goal is out there. So just having those things helps me as a business owner know, okay, we have a few fires to put out today, but big picture it's this. So I'm always envisioning that big picture. So that is really important. I'm a very big person, just imagining and visualizing, and it'll come, right? That's how it's gonna work.
Yeah. Well, and you work hard. It's the African proverb of pray and move your feet. You have a great vision. You meditate or pray or whatever on it. You've got it written down, which is almost like a contract with yourself. Once it's really written down
Yeah.
on paper or even virtual paper, we feel like we're making a commitment, almost like an attorney coming up with a contract and you've signed it. It's like, oh, wow, it's serious. So you're quite serious that way. And yeah, you keep moving things forward quite beautifully. And to see you over a period of years, how much you have grown has been pretty darn impressive. So that's lovely. Yeah. What can you give me a time where you had a client come in and they wanted something and you worked with them and they got some result that you were just most proud of?
Our relationships are long term. So we work with them on the planning side, and then we might see them 10 years later, or someone passes. So that's the type of thing that happens. I'm going to share with you two client situations and their long term. One was a really lovely couple. I did their estate plan maybe 2013, 2014. They were probably in their 80s at the time, and the wife unexpectedly died a couple of years later. Well, we did their estate plan, and I kept in touch with the surviving husband spouse. There was two issues with it. Was he has three adult sons, and there was a time when one of the sons calls me and says, "You gotta call my father because some lady at the grocery store is talking to him and trying to befriend him." Okay, so this is sort of the elder fraud kind of world, and so he's in his late 80s, she's in her 50s. And all of a sudden, she's showing up at the house, bringing dinner.
I,
And my yeah,
gal with an agenda, possibly, but maybe not. Love it.
I don't know. So I called up my client and said, "How you doing?" And it's not my place. Obviously, it's a personal thing, but I did want to check on him. And he was like amused with having someone, kind of take interest in him. But generally, the kids were obviously worried that he might be taken advantage of. He has total of about, say, $3 million of assets. Anyway, that did die down. Like after a few months, they no longer were talking, and he does pass away. And now I'm talking to the three sons, and one of the sons was the person in charge. So he was merely my client, and we're going to do the administration. So the positive part of the story is that they did have a will, they had a trust. We're not going to court, which is great, right? So it's fairly straightforward. We're trying to sell a house that they lived in for 50 years. We had all these assets. So we worked together for about 9 months to get everything done. And next layer of the story is, sadly, okay, so we finished up in September. I said, okay, we're going to, get this all done. And sadly, I talked to this trustee in his 50s on a Friday, and I get a phone call on the Sunday that he passed, or no, actually Monday, that he unexpectedly passed. He was getting ready for church, and he like drops dead. They think it was an aneurysm. And I was like, wait a second. His dad passed 9 months ago in his 90s, and he's in his 50s. And again, this is not, these are sad things. The positive part is the planning we did for mom and dad years and years ago included planning for the grandchildren, which means this, person who died in his 50s, his kids are only in their 20s. So they're not going to get the money like, here's all this money. They were going to get it in stages, just like grandma and grandpa wanted them to. So it's a long process because we did the planning because you don't really know what's going to happen. Wife dies, husband dies, now son dies, and now the grandkids are getting money, but they're going to get it in stages. So I like sharing the story in a sense that because we don't have the crystal ball, this is like we were able to do the right planning for this family. We avoided courts, we avoided extra taxes, as well as giving money to grandchildren that could have potentially wasted it or, mishandled it and not had a great, life beyond. So that is kind of it's a good story, but there's lots, obviously some choppy parts to it.
Well, but it has a happy ending, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And that's all we're looking for. And the grandparents, they
Yeah.
got to leave that,
Yeah.
a generous
A
legacy, as you
generous
would say, a
legacy.
generous legacy. Yeah, they really
Exactly.
did. They got to set their grandkids up well.
Yes.
But you made sure something very interesting that you're saying about how most people blow their inheritance in 18 months. You got to set it up so that those kids would
Yeah.
have it in stages in a
Yeah.
healthy way so they could learn about money along the way and
Yeah.
all of that. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I love the education process. Every time I see you speak, you always have, all these points of things that we think about or we understand differently or have a new perspective on.
Yeah.
But
And
looking
then
at the life we have and the life we want for the people we will inevitably
yeah.
all leave behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, that little story about the woman in the grocery store, I want to point that out because people don't think about remarriage or people meeting someone in their 80s and 90s. And there's people out there who'll scam and prey on older people. And yes, could they have really fallen in love? Yes. I mean, they
It
could have.
does happen occasionally. Sure, sure. Yeah.
But when you have a 30-year gap, I will say
Mm,
that there's more likelihood than not that there's some financial or elder abuse. And
a
I like to
possibility for
plan
sure.
around that to make sure, no, no, this money is not, you ain't touching it. And it's only going to go to my family because it's very easy for someone to just come in and say, hey, go to the courthouse and get married. And then you may not be in the right frame of mind. They go get married and then let's put everything in joint tenancy and joint assets. And then they go and do all that. But when you have everything in trust and everything's in place, there's less likelihood that they could do all.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
Interesting.
I can't even.
Oh, so it's a
Many people
protection in that way.
sit in
Okay.
my office and say, "Oh, I'll never get remarried. I'm done with one or two, whatever marriages." But you never know. There's always that potential that you fall in love later in life, and that's okay as long as everything's squared away. Like no
Yeah.
one's
No,
worried.
my grandmother got remarried when she was in her 80s to another guy who was in his 80s, and
Um,
they went dancing every weekend. Wanted to
love
I was
it.
like, I want to be her when I grow up. She's fantastic. But yes, when there is a huge when there's something that feels off or hinky or just a huge age gap that may or may not be a bad thing. But yes, I think the fact that there's a protection there so that if there is ill intent with somebody who maybe still have all their faculties being perfectly fine. Like this guy sounded like he came out okay, but not everybody in that 90-year-old age bracket does have the same abilities that they had when they were 30. And so I love that you have things in place to make it harder for somebody to manipulate and elder abuse to harm somebody who might be fragile in some way. Yeah, or
I'll
not.
share another statistic that I share with clients. Within 2 years of your spouse passing, 62% of men remarry, but only 13% of women remarry.
Yeah, like that was so much work the first time. I don't know.
Women
No,
are
I mean,
like,
I
nothing.
don't know. We were like, oh, take it slow. Yeah, the women are the sensible ones. I love that. Men are sensible too. I think that, yeah, there's a study that says that, yeah, men have a tougher time being alone, which I thought was really interesting. I think that is interesting that, yeah, so very high percentage. And, it's like getting out of getting out of a relationship, say a divorce or breaking up with somebody. We're all tempted to rebound into something that may not be so good.
Yeah.
And I think after a death, that level of grief has to be just
Oh,
unimaginable.
absolutely.
And then, to rebound or bounce into something that may or may not be healthy for us. I think you have a higher likelihood of when you're that emotionally drained, you have a higher likelihood of perhaps not seeing things as clearly as you would
Yeah.
in other
Yeah.
times of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tie it back to the business owner scenario too is can you imagine if there's no succession plan and there's business partners? Now a surviving spouse might have to be an owner with business owners and he or she has no idea
They,
how to, even do anything in the business. So, but they're still part of it. So lots of
mm,
other reasons to to do some additional business succession and estate planning when it's a business involved.
Well, you've got employees that are counting on you, and
Yeah,
they count on you whether you are alive or dead. And unfortunately, tomorrow is promised to no one. Absolutely no one. No one gets the promise of you get to be here even later today. And that's a tough thing to accept. And I think that may be the reason that many people put off succession planning and estate planning and looking at all of those pieces. When you make it fairly easy and simple and painless and fun and they get the joy of being in your company anyway. And beyond that, I mean, you make it a fairly painless, easy process. But I think most people think that I think that the fact that it is a bit confronting, it does take a bit of courage to get up and over that, and to say, maybe you don't have $50 billion, it doesn't matter. Whatever you have, you deserve to have it dealt with the way you want to see it. And if you have employees, you have people that you work with, or a partner, like you said, those people deserve to be safe and protected and treated well when you are gone. If you are most of us are putting huge amounts of effort into making sure every employee is treated so beautifully and with such respect. And so to not respect them that same way, were you to, God forbid, pass away sooner than any of us would like, that seems so unkind
yeah,
and
irresponsible in a way.
irresponsible. I want to say irresponsible, yeah.
I know.
And it's so extraordinarily courageous and so unbelievably kind to make sure that you are providing for your family, for your company, for your employees, even your customers, for that
Yeah,
matter.
yeah,
That makes making sure that you're taking care of those people,
for sure.
even when you're not here to physically do it yourself. They get to know that you cared enough to
Hmm.
find the courage and the time,
Yeah,
because people make time for the things that are really important to them.
yeah,
Because I'll have people like, oh, I don't have time for a succession plan. I'm like, you're 82, make time. Somehow you had time to go to the movies four times this month, and you had time to watch Netflix for 14 hours over the weekend, but you can't make that whole hour it's going to take to put together your plan. So, but we all do that. I mean, I'm guilty of
yeah,
it too. I would love to say I was perfect, but I'm not. We all put off things that are a bit confronting. But I've learned the older I get that those are the things you have to lean into, even just as a personal growth experiment, even just to say, this is something that makes me nervous. This is something, that makes me
yeah,
feel less than or uncomfortable or scared. But that's the thing that's going to make you a better, stronger person to conquer the next thing you need to be
yeah,
courageous about.
for
And
sure.
so I think it, even just as an exercise in growth, it's valuable. And I love the perspective that you have on it. I think it's a really beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah,
Now, I know you speak about a lot of these topics. I've seen you speak, and I think you're wonderful, as you
no,
know.
thank you.
And you are available to talk about any of these topics that people want to hear about. And in how do you create a generous legacy, whether that's within your company or within your personal life. Super important stuff. And you are also, I'm proud to say, you were our very first sponsor for the Inspiring Victory Show, our podcast, and we are delighted to have you as a sponsor.
Thank
Uh,
you.
is there any way that people need to get a hold of you if they are now saying, okay, that's it, I now need to get some financial help, or I need to get my act together with my estate plan and my finances, or either or both? What is the best way to reach out and get a hold of you? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. There
about this?
are, I would say if you want just more information about this topic, or kind of even get just acquainted, we have lots of videos on YouTube. And then once you've kind of figured out, okay, I really want to do something about it, then I always just say, call us, go on our website. You can certainly get our contact information that way. And just call us and make an appointment. I think really important to just have that one-on-one time. And because we are all virtual lives now, we could do either through a virtual kind of video conference meeting or in person, and we can at least get into the nitty gritty of your situation. Recently been asked about, should I do my will on LegalZoom, or some other way of doing that, and we get that question all the time. But I'm just a big fan of be careful, of buyer
Right.
beware type of thing when you buy things that are that, you get what you pay for, and just don't leave something so important to chance.
You're yes, yeah. What is it? The person who represents themselves as a fool for a client.
Yeah.
You're not an attorney. You're just not. You're not an attorney, and we all can't be everything and have that experience. And I think if your situation is, if you're maybe if you're 22 and your only asset is a bicycle, then yeah, sure, maybe legal soon would be plenty for you. But I
Yeah.
think anybody who has a business, anybody who has a family and children, all those sorts of things, getting a pro to help you through it. It's not nearly as intensive or complicated or expensive as anybody thinks. And it's going to save you and your family so much heartache in the long run. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing. So I do encourage people to reach out. If it's something you've been putting off, we all have those things we're putting off. Think of it as a personal growth class and course, and spend some time. And what's the best website for them to go look at? What's your YouTube handle? What anything that and where should they email in case
Yeah,
they
yeah. So our
I'll have it'll be in the show notes too. Don't worry about it.
our website is bott, BOTT, estateplanning.com. And really all the connections are there in terms of, all of our social media handles. And you could even go on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. If you go on YouTube, just put Bott and Associates, and there's plenty of videos. And some are old, but
Great.
they all still make sense. And
Learn a whole lot of stuff, which will
you
be
can learn a
absolutely
lot of
wonderful.
things even before, scheduling that appointment. So always good to do that. But yeah, that's kind of how we communicate with people. And we're definitely on social media everywhere. So
We can
definitely
find
like us,
all those
find
things.
us,
Bott and
and
Associates everywhere,
lots of
and
information.
Maritess Bott, the beautiful name. Well, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for being our sponsor. I mean,
Thank
please,
you.
we wouldn't have the show without you. If you need estate planning, if you need financial help, if you need some help with succession planning for your business, I would 100% can endorse and recommend Maritess Bott and her company. We refer lots and lots of business to you because we believe in what you do, and the results have always been really exceptional. We get nothing but 100% great feedback. And, also as just, again, if you're going to choose a vendor, choose somebody who's taking the time to support our show. We would really appreciate it. And you could not do better than Maritess Bott. So thank you for being on the Inspiring Victory Show, our podcast. And I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Again, the Inspiring Victory Show podcast, which is where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. Thank you again, Maritess.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing all the genius that you are to the Inspiring Victory Tribe. We all really, really appreciate it. And I really need your help as well. We need you to like and share and subscribe and just help us build and grow this amazing community that you are a part of and that we're so lucky to have you as a member of. If you know somebody brilliant, if you know somebody fascinating, if you know somebody inspiring, please share it out with them and help us grow this amazing community so that we can help others the way that you help others every single day. So thank you for being a part of the Inspiring Victory Tribe, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. We loved making it for you. And again, all the best to you as you double your business, double your impact, and change the world.